Hello, good morning, celebrants. I hope this is going out because this is the new sort of Facebook interface and for doing live videos. Oh, maybe that's us just come on. Anyway, I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. I'm not quite sure, but if anybody's on listening, you can maybe give me a wee shout. I thought I would come on and just talk over this question that Pauline posed about humanist celebrants. I know we were going to try and go on and have a chat, but everybody seems to be really busy. And so Pauline's question was, do humanist celebrants offer and or participate in religious ceremonies? Well, here we go. I think if you take that in a very simple way of looking at it in religious ceremonies, the answer should be no. You know, humanists are a belief group. The Humanist Society of Scotland is a belief group, and part of that belief, or one of the sort of principles of humanism, is that we have one life and there is nothing beyond this life. So we don't go anywhere, there's no afterlife, it's just us, it's very much rooted in science. We live, we die, we're gone. And so the idea of alluding to something bigger than us, something greater to us, you know, something supernatural, does not have a place in humanism. However, that word religious can be interpreted in different ways, can't it? And when I first became a celebrant, it was a case of, if we look at, say, funerals, for example, there seemed to be humanists who would not take on a funeral where the family wanted any kind of religious content, whether that be a hymn or a prayer, anything that they saw as religious or spiritual, they wouldn't take part in it. But there were other humanists who would allow it. They would allow it. They wouldn't participate, so they wouldn't read the prayer, they wouldn't sing the hymn, they would just sort of turn a blind eye to what was happening in the room. And of course that started to raise questions, you know, well, why are they even taking on these services if they are, they don't want to be fully involved in the content, you know, and I think that's a fair question. You know, we as celebrants be holding space for people and halfway through saying, oh no, don't agree with that, I'm disconnecting from the space. I would say no, but maybe you would disagree. And then what happened is always happens whenever there's any sort of group like this and it starts to gain momentum and grow in numbers, people started to break away and form their own wee groups. And one of those was the Independent Humanists of Scotland. And they were saying, we will allow you to have religious content in your ceremony. We don't have any restrictions on what you can have in your ceremony or your service. I believe there was a wee bit of, and still is, a wee bit of friction there between the Humanist Society of Scotland and these breakaway groups, because it's starting to muddy the waters. You know, what is humanism? Do you believe there's just one life and nothing beyond it, so therefore, you know, they shouldn't be offering any spiritual content? Or, you know, is it a case of humanism doesn't fit with you, so therefore you shouldn't be calling yourself a humanist? And the thing is, the whole area of religion and spirituality is so complex, isn't it? So complex that this idea of humanists and what they are and what they believe in has become a wee bit of a grey area. And so now we're seeing humanists calling themselves spiritual humanists. And my understanding is they're taking the aspects of humanism that does apply to them, which is, you know, live a good life, look after each other, you know, it's some of the things that are important to humanism. Don't be teaching religion to children in school. We should be allowing people dignity in dying, so they should be allowed to have an assisted death if they want it. But I still feel like a spiritual person, so I'm going to call myself a spiritual humanist. And therefore, when they're conducting ceremonies, they're saying, yeah, of course, I'll put in some spiritual content. So it has become a bit muddied. I don't have a clear answer for you. When it comes to weddings, slightly different, because our marriages, I should say, because one of the reasons that the Humanist Society of Scotland were given the authority to conduct legal weddings in Scotland was because of this idea that they're completely non-religious, and they wanted to be able to offer ceremonies to people who were also non-religious. But if we're then seeing spiritual content, that some people, that word spirituality and religion often gets, mixed up. We use the same word to mean, or the two words to mean the same thing, which they're not quite. But then I know questions have been asked of the Registrar General, why are humanists allowed to go out and conduct spiritual ceremonies when they're doing it under the umbrella of the Humanist Society of Scotland? As I say, I don't have any clear answer for you, other than you will come across humanists who will not, take on weddings or funerals where there's going to be any sort of spiritual content. And at the other side of that, you've got spiritual humanists who say, yes, we absolutely will offer spiritual content. And I'm afraid it's above my pay grade to be saying what's right and what's wrong. Hi Heather, nice to see you. So I don't know that makes it any clearer for you, but it maybe gives you a wee bit of a background into how we've come to this point where we're seeing humanists offering, it's more spiritual content than religious content. I think if you said to any humanist, do you put religious content in, they would say no. But I think if you said, do you sometimes put spiritual content in, they would say yes. And I did have a conversation with the head of the Humanist Society in Scotland some years ago, and it was actually because they were picking me up on something on my website. And when I asked them the question, so if a couple comes to you and says, I would like you to conduct my marriage, but I would want a wee prayer in there, or a wee hymn in there, or a wee worship song or whatever, what would you say? And there was a bit of humming and hawing, I have to say. There was a bit of trying to get out of jail free, but eventually she had to admit, we would have to say, we are not the right people to conduct your ceremony. But as we know, there are humanists out there who are saying, I'm the right person to conduct your ceremony and whatever you want in it. And it's kind of hard to argue against that when we're saying it should be about choice. So if a couple have gone to a humanist, they've clicked with a humanist, they love that humanist, they think that humanist is the right person to do their ceremony, and then they say, do you know what, we want a wee prayer in there, and that humanist says, that's absolutely fine, I want to do that for you because it's your day. It's hard for me to argue against that. And the same with funerals. If a humanist celebrant goes out, connects with the family, gives them everything else they want, and then they say, we want a wee prayer in there, and the humanist said, okay, we'll put a wee prayer in there, then I would not want to be the person that says they should, that shouldn't happen. I think we should all be authentic. And I know there's many people on here having gone down the humanist route because that belief system doesn't sit right in their core, and I honour that. I absolutely honour that. I'm the exact same, and I think if you are a spiritual person and you feel that connection, then own it. Own it. Don't try to fit into a box because it allows you to do something else that you want to do. Instead, find another way of doing that without losing your integrity, especially your spiritual integrity. I think that's hugely important. So as I say, I don't know that's of much help, but that's just my musings. Of course, if you want us to come on and have a discussion about it, I'm more than happy to do that. But other than that, I will speak to you all very soon. Take care. Bye.